Donald Trump has recently announced that if he does become president, he would put in a 200% tariff on the company John Deere for putting their labor and putting their manufacturing in Mexico.
John Deere is going to be paying a 200%. They haven't started it yet. Maybe they haven't even made the final decision yet.
The former president, speaking with farmers in Pennsylvania Monday, says he will put the fees on products the company brings in from Mexico after hundreds of layoffs were announced in Iowa this year, many because of shifting production to Mexico.
Because it's hurting our farmers, it's hurting our manufacturing.
And while I do agree with him on adding tariffs, and this is something that he did do a lot back in 2018 with China, I gotta say this one specific thing is something that I'm really not so optimistic about, mainly because not so much the tariffs part, but as the approach that he's doing it. So we're going to talk about that today, my personal opinion, and well, what I personally think would be a much better solution. Not that that would mean anything, obviously, but understand that, well, he does have a point, but at the same time, I really wish he would take it a little bit different. But before we get started, guys, make sure to like, subscribe, comment. Really does help with the algorithm on YouTube, as well. Make sure to follow us on XFL Investing. If you'd like to join us on the Discord, the link is in the description below. So with that said, let's get started with this video. Alrighty, so let's take a look at this. From CNBC, archived, of course, we got Trump threatens 200% tariffs if John Deere moves production to Mexico. Former President Donald J. Trump threatened John Deere with a 200% tariff if the agricultural manufacturer moves some of its production to factories in Mexico. John Deere plans to ship productions of some of its models to Mexico, a move that has resulted in layoffs at some facilities in Iowa. Shares of Deere dipped 1.6% in after-hours trading. Trump made the threat shortly after the closing bell, and this was done, guys, as of September 23rd of 2024 at around 6:18 p.m. So again, this is kind of just what we saw him say, and we already know that this is going to happen. I mean, if you guys look back at the previous videos that I made, especially the live streams that I make with Mike, I have stated before that if you think that stocks are going to go up if Trump were to get elected, I have a bridge to sell you because, well, remember Trump's presidency was really a tariff presidency, right? That was one of the big things that he did during his presidency, was having a lot of tariffs on China. And we kind of know what stocks did after that. And to get the exact date, by doing a quick Google search, we can see that on March 22nd, 2018, Trump signed a memorandum under the Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974, instructed the United States Trade Representative to apply tariffs of $50 billion on Chinese goods. Trump said the tariffs would impose due to Chinese theft of U.S. intellectual property. And if we take a look at right around that time when this was occurring, we could see that stocks were actually heading on the way up. However, as of September 18th, when I do believe that these tariffs came into place, we could see that the market fell from around, and by the way, I'm looking at the S&P 500 ETF, fell from $289.33 to a low of around like $250 or so. Now, it did rebound nicely afterwards. However, we can see that tariffs with China did cause stocks to sell off for a decent amount of time there, for September 4th all the way up to December. So for about 3 months or so. And we also have Mark Cuban coming into this, where he's pretty much just saying something that, well, I kind of do agree with. And doesn't necessarily mean that I agree with the guy entirely. However, I do understand where he's coming from when he says this.
You argue that Donald Trump's are particularly, I think you used the word insane. What did you mean by that?
Yep. Well, first of all, strategic tariffs aren't bad. So if a company's trying to dump, or a country's trying to dump in the United States and we have a manufacturer there, tariff them, that's great. But across the board tariffs, 10 or 20% is just inflationary. It's a tax on the American consumer. But to make matters even worse, and what's truly insane, when you threaten a legendary company like John Deere with a 200% tariff if they move, but only a 10 or 20% tariff on China, what you're doing is you're making it easy for the Chinese competitors to take business away from John Deere. That is the definition of insane.
And I actually do tend to agree with this, not in its entirety, but there was two parts of a statement that I would just like to separate there for a second. The first one being that it would be inflationary. And In a way, yes, but we have to dissect this a little bit more. Why is John Deere moving to Mexico to begin with? And again, this kind of explanation leads to the second part of his statement as well. So the first one is, why in the world is John Deere leaving the United States to begin with? And well, one of the things is inflation. Things have just gotten a million times more expensive for companies. In fact, let's take a look at this a little bit here. From the BLS.gov website themselves, we can actually choose which category to see and how prices have changed since 2004. Specifically for John Deere, let's choose gasoline unleaded as well as utility gas piped. Figured since that would be the most two things that a company like John Deere would be affected by. All that as well as electricity. And we can see here, actually, let's do one at a time. So let's start, of course, with the gasoline. So we can see here that gasoline right now, unleaded regular per gallon, is at $3.52. Now, this is a little bit down. Well, this is a little bit down from the April 2024 number of $3.78 and significantly down from the peak of June 2022 at $5.06. However, overall though, it is significantly up, especially if you count it from May of 2020. However, we are kind of in the middle as it was prior to COVID itself. You guys can see here in 2014, it was $3.69, very, very similar to what it is today. However, everything else has gotten expensive as well, which is why, even though this is in line with 2014 numbers, it's still a lot more expensive than in comparison to everything else, right? So let's take a look at now utility gas pipe. We can see here once again that this is very much up. Now, from the peak, yes, it is down in January 2023. This was $1.82, and right now is $1.40. Yes, it is significantly down from that point, but if you take it from 2016, it is massively up. And if you take it from when the initial tariffs were done from Trump's of 2018, we can see it was only $1.04. So this is significantly up from that point as well. And if we take a look at the electricity per kilowatts, this thing is just a straight line going up and to the right. If we take a look at the same point from March 2018, September 2018, we can see it was 13 cents. And right now it is a whopping 18 cents per kilowatt hour. So those are just a few commodities that I just wanted to show that things are getting more expensive, not just for us, but for companies as well. And then the last thing that I want to mention in regards to this is, of course, the compensation of private industries, because cost of labor has also gone up as well. Now, we can see this once again, the red line, by the way, it is the private industry cost of labor, and in the blue, it is the government cost of labor. But if we take a look at the private industry cost of labor, which would be John Deere, we can see that as of today, it is 3.9%. Granted, from the peak of June of 2022, it is a lot lower, right? 5.5 down to 3.9%. I get that. But if we take a look at, once again, from March of 2018, it was 2.8%, guys. So the way that I look at this, in the first part of the statement of, it will be inflationary. Well, I would actually argue as to the fact that the reason why they're leaving is because it's inflationary. It's because they can't afford to keep everything here. So they have to go places where they can actually increase their profit margins. Because right now they may be either running at a deficit or maybe they're running at near zero when it comes to net profit margins. So that's kind of my first thing. And the second thing is something that I do agree with. He said that in 2018, he put a 10 to 20% tariff on China, but now he's putting a 200% tariff on John Deere. The reason why I don't necessarily like this is because he is essentially taxing a company, right? He's essentially taxing a company, whereas before he was mainly going after countries. I would much rather if he would to just tax or tariff the country of Mexico itself, right? Tariff the country of Mexico entirely, say all products, just so that way it's a clear field, right? It's just a clear field and you're not attacking a specific industry or a specific company. So I actually do agree with the second part of his statement that, it would essentially destroy John Deere, mainly because you're attacking John Deere itself. My personal suggestion, again, not that I'm saying that I would have a Trump's number or anything like that, but I would much rather if he were to just put a tariff on Mexico itself, like he was talking about in 2016. Not necessarily a tariff on companies, because again, companies, they have their profit margins, they have their cost benefit analysis, they have all these things. So in reality, Mark Cuban said it himself, all you're doing is you're destroying the company. I would much rather if Trump were to just say, hey, let's just put a 200% tariff on Mexico, the country in general, for all imported products. That would be a much better thing to say, a much better thing to do than just attacking a specific company itself. But guys, I think that'll pretty much do it for this video. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment. Really does help over the algorithm on YouTube as well as Rumble. I am so terribly sorry for not live streaming this week. I know I said I was, but with the hurricane, Mike has no power. I don't know if we'll be able to do the normal weekend deep dive that we do on Sunday. And I've been dealing with a lot of baby stuff too, so I'm so terribly sorry for that. But I figured I'd give you guys a video for today talking about this. So yeah, hopefully next week things will calm down and we'll go back to our normal schedule. So thank you so much, guys, for all the support. Really do appreciate it. And pray for Mike, because the hurricane, it didn't hit him directly, but it did hit him somewhat directly. I think he got like a category 2 or a category 3 of the hurricane. So pray for him on that one. But everything I think should be okay. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, guys, and of course, tell me what you guys think about this kind of thing that's currently happening with Trump in Mexico. Doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to, not cast my vote for Trump, because I will. But this is something that I really wish he would step back and think about what he just said. So thank you guys so much. Peace out, and we'll see you all next time.